Affordable Care Act tax credits, tens of millions of Americans are about to experience dramatically increased health care costs. In some cases, their health insurance premiums will increase by $1,000 or $2,000 per year. That is unacceptable. It will be unaffordable for working class Americans, middle class Americans, and everyday Americans to be able to go see a doctor when they need one. And so House Democrats and Senate Democrats have been fighting hard to address the Republican health care crisis and to lower the high cost of living for everyday Americans in the United States of America. Because the reality is, America is too expensive. And far too many people are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. They can't thrive, they can barely survive. And that's why Democrats have been waging this fight. And we'll continue to wage this fight. No matter what comes over to us from the United States Senate to the House of Representatives at some point this week. Our position as House Democrats has been crystal clear. We will sit down with any Republicans, anytime, any place, anywhere, in order to find a bipartisan path forward, but we're not down with their my way or the highway approach to governance. That's failed the American people. It's been a disaster for the American people, and the American people know it, which is why last Tuesday, Republicans all across the country got wiped out. One of the most decisive off-year elections ever in modern American history. And so as House Democrats, we know we're on the right side of this fight, the right side of the American people. And we're not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people. And we're going to continue the fight to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And if it doesn't happen this week, next week, this month, next month, then it's the fault of Donald Trump, House and Senate Republicans, who continue to make life more expensive for the American people. Questions?
Some Democrats in your own caucus are suggesting Schumer is ineffective as Senate Democratic leader and should be replaced. You, of course, are critical of this deal. Do you view him as effective, and should he keep the job?
Yes and yes.
Jeffries, do you trust, in this deal, there is language for President Trump and the Trump administration to reverse some of the firings that happened during the shutdown? Do you trust that the Trump administration and the president is going to sign off on that and reverse the people who have been fired?
We'll have to evaluate the legislative language, and we'll have a caucus meeting later on this afternoon, and we'll get a presentation from Rosa DeLauro, the top Democrat on the Appropriations Committee. The overwhelming majority of Senate Democrats, led by Leader Schumer, are opposing this bill in the Senate. And they'll articulate, there are a variety of different reasons that the bill is being opposed strongly by Democrats in the Senate, the overwhelming majority of them. And there'll be a variety of different reasons that we articulate in the House. Now, certainly we're going to continue to stand by our hardworking federal employees. By the way, Donald Trump and Republicans, this toxic administration, they fired more than 100,000 federal employees prior to the shutdown that they started beginning. So, of course, there's reason to be deeply skeptical of the administration and their motives as it relates to the hardworking federal civil servants and the federal workforce. And we will continue to be deeply skeptical of their intentions. They spent the whole year implementing the toxic parts, the most toxic parts of Project 2025, after lying to the American people last year, saying they didn't know anything about Project 2025. And part of that has been going after the federal workforce. So we'll see what the language looks like, but it doesn't change the core problem here, which is we need to decisively address the Republican health care crisis on behalf of working class Americans, everyday Americans, and middle class Americans. Thanks. Third row. Who?
There are millions of phantom enrollees under the ACA. Is that being looked at as it possibly makes it so that people that are on the ACA are getting more, inflating the number?
That's like the most random way to start a question on a serious topic. Nobody who's serious in this country takes Dr. Oz seriously. No one. And I mean, it's shocking that the guy even was confirmed. But this is part of the reality of Republicans here in the House and over in the Senate. They're nothing more than a rubber stamp for Donald Trump's cruelty and extreme agenda. I have no idea what Dr. Oz is talking about, and neither do the American people.
All right, we're going to continue to monitor this press conference from Hakeem Jeffries, who had a very dramatic eye roll there when a reporter asked about Dr. Oz, who is a high-ranking government official, thanks to a confirmation by the U.S. Senate. But big picture, what we just saw is the Democratic leader of the House of Representatives saying before the press what he's already been saying in print and on social media, which is that he does not like this deal that was done in the Senate, reminding people that most Democratic senators don't like it. They voted no. And clearly, when it gets to the House, he is going to do the same thing. Manu, I also think that it is interesting. He was talking a lot about health care, which is, again, why the government, effectively why. There are other reasons, but the biggest reason why the Democrats were withholding their votes to reopen the government in the first place. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about, and since he mentioned it, I'll just do it right now, is whether or not when they get to the House, even though Republicans are in charge, there will be a mechanism or a way to get that vote to extend premiums for health care subsidies.
There is a way to do it. I'm not convinced that that's going to be the case where they can force a vote on the floor of the House. They would need 218 votes to circumvent the Republican leadership and force it on the House floor. That is not, they don't have those numbers yet. We'll see if they ultimately do. It's interesting how you hear the midterm messaging there from Hakeem Jeffries. Partisan Republican spending bill, health care costs, that is what they're going to run the midterm campaign on, even though they have lost this fight. Even though this is not a partisan Republican spending bill, this is a bipartisan deal cut in the Senate, supported by 8 Democrats. That is the definition of bipartisanship, but he's making very clear how he plans to view this, and also, interesting too, a vote of confidence for Chuck Schumer. Much different than what he did in March, when he said no comment when he was asked if he had confidence.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, I was talking to a Democratic lawmaker this morning who just put it really bluntly, who said, the problem that we as Democrats have is that we want things to work, and we also have a base that fuels our elections that are so mad they want us to fight. So it's the rub of that they have continually rub up against, including right now. Can we just talk about the president and what he posted this morning, which I'm just going to read it. Yeah, okay. Very good question. This is about air traffic controllers. I'm going to read it. All air traffic controllers must get back to work now. Anyone who doesn't will be substantially docked. For those air traffic controllers who were great patriots and didn't take any time off for the Democratic shutdown hoax,